In this video, I want to discuss the hit that happened in the Winnipeg Jets and Boston Bruins game last night. Obviously, it was a very rough game, and we saw a hit from Josh Morrissey on the Boston Bruins player that resulted in a major penalty. And I want to discuss whether or not that deserves to be a suspendable play. We're going to discuss that coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so as we mentioned off the top, we want to discuss this hit that happened last night between the Jets and the Bruins. It was a very solid game to watch. It was very entertaining. There was lots of big hits, lots of rough plays. And if this, I know I heard some speculation talking on NHL radio today, if this ended up being our Stanley Cup final, it would be incredibly entertaining to watch. And to be honest, I agree. It was a great game. I did see the majority of the game. I did see this hit when it happened live, and it certainly seems like it could be a suspendable play. So I wanted to give you my thoughts and find out what you as fans and viewers think of this hit and should it be suspendable. Now obviously we've discussed at great length on this channel during this NHL season the fact that I feel the NHL has been incredibly inconsistent with their calls on suspension plays this year. We've seen some plays that you really didn't think should be suspendable. We've seen ones that should have been more or less. I have a hard time agreeing with quite a few of the suspension calls on NHL hits this year, and it just really gets frustrating on how inconsistent things have been. So it's hard to say how this one's going to go. Now the early indication that I've seen online this morning was that it doesn't look like Josh Morrissey is going to get any additional discipline. That's the way it looks. But we don't know that for sure as of yet. And either way, it's still a point of discussion here. And I want to find out what everybody thinks of this hit. Because like I said, as we know, there's been a lot of inconsistency this year. So let's see what everybody thinks. Now personally, if you haven't seen the play as well, there will be a link down in the description. You can go check it out and inform your own opinion of what happened here. Obviously, there was a lot of other hits that kind of led to this one. Now basically what happened was Morrissey was going into the corner against Grzelcyk. The Boston player ended up kind of turning himself. You could argue he put himself in a vulnerable position, but you can see with Morrissey, it looks like he leaves his feet and it really crunches him right from the numbers right into the boards, and it did not look good at all. Now there was a lot of other, like I said, big hits that happened leading up to that. Was kind of getting both sides fired up. It was on both sides. We saw Mark Scheifele get hit pretty hard. There was a hit on Pasternak, obviously, in the game as well. It was kind of going both ways for the most part. Most of the other stuff was clean or certainly not suspension worthy, but this one is certainly at the very least debatable. I mean, yes, Josh Morrissey does not have a history of dirty hits. Josh Morrissey does not have a history of being suspended or fined in the NHL. However, we've seen many cases this season where players that are brand new to supplementary discipline, have never had anything happen in the past, we're getting 1 or 2 games or a fine or a combination of both. And it just, it's, to me, this falls into the category that it should at least be looked at. There should be a hearing and something more should be done. It was right at the end of the period. There's only a couple seconds left. It was very unnecessary. I think it's just a case of getting caught up in the moment. There's a lot of weight being thrown around on both sides there. Some big hits down in each end of the ice, in each corner, down in the Winnipeg zone. So obviously, I think he just got carried away myself. Sometimes players, the game is so fast that they do things that they shouldn't sometimes, and this is clearly a case of that. So obviously, based on my opinion, I think Morrissey deserves at least a short suspension. I mean, I don't think it should be too bad. Like I said, there's no prior history. You could argue in a way that there might be some intent there. Obviously the emotions were getting ramped up with all the hitting going on in the game. He certainly should have been fully aware of what he was doing. So for the most part, that was a clean game, as much as there was a very physical. But I think personally this is a suspendable play. That's what I think. I don't think it should be too bad because he's got a clean history and whatnot. But really, if you look at some other hits that happened this year, they were given 1 or 2 games. This really isn't any different, and you could argue that it's worse than some of the ones we've seen. So, like I said, early indications indicate that there won't be any discipline, which completely surprises me, but maybe I shouldn't be surprised because of the inconsistent calls we've seen all year long. So I know there's plenty of Bruins fans that are upset about this hit. They feel there should be more. I mean, he was given a major penalty on the play and game misconduct. So, I mean, obviously they do factor in that as well. And they look and say, okay, is that sufficient? And maybe the NHL's leaning towards that it should be sufficient. I'm not convinced. I think there should be more to it. I don't think they need to throw the book at him. A couple of games really compared to other hits that have happened this year seems fair in my opinion. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this hit? Should this play be a suspendable play? And if so, what do you think it should be? There's certainly lots to debate here. So leave your comments down below and we'll continue the conversation in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing. As I mentioned before, we cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all fan bases to enjoy. If you haven't done so already, consider checking us out on Twitter. You're going to see our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We also have accounts on Instagram and Facebook, and those are linked down below in the description, so check those out. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.